Harrow's Hollow was a small, forgotten town nestled deep in the Appalachian Mountains. It was the kind of place that had faded from the memory of the world, remote, with a population that had dwindled over the years. Once a thriving mining town, it now lay dormant, its crumbling buildings and overgrown streets the only remnants of what it had once been. For the few that still lived there, life was simple and uneventful. That was until the year of the blood moon, a rare astronomical event that seemed to awaken something ancient and evil lurking beneath the surface of Harrow's Hollow. Halloween was approaching, and with it came a dark legend that had haunted the town for over a century. The legend of the Carnival of Shadows. According to old stories, Harrow's Hollow had once been home to a traveling carnival run by a man named Lucian Graves, a mysterious ringmaster who was as feared as he was adored. His carnival arrived every October, bringing with it strange attractions and performers. But it was said that no one ever saw the performers outside of the carnival grounds, and by the end of each season, several townspeople, mainly children, would disappear without a trace. The carnival's reign of terror ended abruptly when the townsfolk, after years of fear, stormed the carnival grounds during the night of a blood moon. They found Lucian Graves and his troupe performing a dark ritual, summoning forces beyond human understanding. In their rage, the people of Harrow's Hollow set fire to the carnival, trapping everyone inside. Lucian was never seen again, and neither was the carnival, until now. On the night the blood moon was set to rise again, posters appeared around town, seemingly out of nowhere. They advertised the return of Lucian Graves' Carnival of Shadows, promising thrills, chills, and entertainment beyond your wildest nightmares. The town's few remaining residents thought it was some kind of prank, a cruel joke playing on the town's tragic history. But when the tents were seen rising on the outskirts of town the next day, people began to whisper. Some locked their doors and prepared to leave town, fearing the return of the dark days. Others, mostly the younger generation, were curious, eager to see if the old legend had any truth to it. By Halloween night, the carnival had fully come to life. The air was thick with fog, and the distant sound of carnival music drifted through the streets, beckoning the brave or foolish to enter. Part 2. The Carnival of Shadows. The carnival grounds were a labyrinth of winding paths, filled with grotesque rides and twisted games. Every corner seemed designed to disorient, every attraction more nightmarish than the last. There were no cheerful clowns or bright lights here. Everything was dark, cast in shades of red and black, with the faint glow of the blood moon overhead. At the center of the carnival was the main tent, towering over the grounds like a cathedral of nightmares. Its striped fabric was tattered and torn, and strange symbols were etched into the wooden poles that held it up. Inside, the air was thick with smoke and the scent of decay. The few who had entered the carnival, teens mostly, wandered around, their nervous laughter quickly dying as the eerie atmosphere took hold. There were no other visitors, and no one seemed to be running the rides or games. And yet, the carnival hummed with life, the rides spinning on their own, the games resetting without help. That was when the clowns appeared. At first, they seemed like normal carnival clowns. Strange, perhaps, but nothing out of the ordinary for a Halloween attraction. But as the night went on, the clowns became more aggressive. Their painted smiles grew wider, their movements more erratic. They moved through the carnival silently, their eyes fixed on the visitors, watching them closely as if waiting for the right moment. One group of teens, led by a boy named Carter, decided to explore the main tent. It seemed to be the heart of the carnival, and curiosity got the better of them. As they stepped inside, they were met with a sight that sent a chill down their spines. The interior of the tent was far larger than it appeared from the outside. Rows upon rows of seats filled the space, and at the center was a massive stage draped in red velvet. But it was the figures in the seats that froze them in place. The entire audience was made up of mannequins, old, decaying figures dressed in tattered clothing. Their faces were blank, save for painted smiles that mirrored those of the clowns. They sat in perfect silence, their heads all turned toward the stage. Before anyone could speak, the lights dimmed, and a spotlight illuminated the stage. From behind the curtain, a figure stepped out, a tall man in a black tailcoat, his face pale and gaunt, his eyes glowing with an unnatural light. It was Lucian Graves. "Welcome, my dear guests," he said, his voice smooth and cold. "The Carnival of Shadows has been waiting for you." As Lucien spoke, the clowns began to move through the aisles of the tent, silently closing in on the group. Carter and his friends tried to leave, but the tent flaps had sealed shut, trapping them inside. "You see," Lucien continued, "this carnival is not just for your entertainment, it is for your transformation. The blood moon has returned, and with it, the harvest begins once more." Before anyone could react, the clowns pounced. They moved with inhuman speed, dragging the screaming teens toward the stage. The mannequins in the audience began to twitch and move, their blank faces turning toward the chaos with eerie precision. Lucien watched with a twisted smile as the clowns brought the teens before him, binding them to large rusted wheels that stood behind the curtain. Carter struggled, shouting at the ringmaster, "What do you want from us?" Lucien's smile widened. "Why, my boy? You are the show. You are the next generation of performers in my eternal carnival. Every century we take the souls of those who wander too close, and we transform them into the very clowns that haunt these grounds." He gestured toward the clowns, whose painted faces now seemed all too real, their eyes filled with terror. Carter realized with horror that these clowns had once been people like him, who had stumbled into the carnival, never to return. The ritual began. As the blood moon reached its peak, Lucien raised his hands, chanting in a language that made the very air around them hum with dark energy. The clowns moved in a trance-like state, their faces contorting with pain as the transformation completed. Their bodies twisted and cracked, becoming something less than human, more monstrous with every second. And then, it was Carter's turn. Just as Lucien prepared to seal Carter's fate, a figure appeared in the shadows of the tent. It was an old man, hunched and weathered, with eyes that seemed to burn with knowledge. The man had once been a resident of Harrow's Hollow, a survivor of the first Carnival of Shadows. He had spent his life studying the occult, waiting for the blood moon's return. The man threw a vial of salt and iron toward Lucien, disrupting the ritual. The clowns screamed as the magic broke, their twisted forms collapsing into heaps of dust. Lucien staggered, weakened by the interruption. "This ends now, Lucien," the old man shouted, but Lucien only laughed. "You fool," he said. "You cannot stop what has already begun." The old man turned to Carter, urging him to run. Together, they fought their way through the tent, dodging the remaining clowns as they raced toward the entrance. The old man muttered incantations under his breath, using every ounce of his knowledge to hold back the darkness that pursued them. But as they reached the edge of the carnival grounds, something changed. Carter felt a sharp pain in his chest. He looked down to see his skin beginning to crack and peel, revealing bright white paint underneath. His hands twisted into claws, and his mouth stretched into an unnatural grin. The ritual had been interrupted, but the transformation had already begun. The old man watched in horror as Carter fell to his knees, his voice fading into a maniacal laugh. The Carnival of Shadows had claimed another victim. As the blood moon sank below the horizon, the carnival vanished once more, leaving behind nothing but the empty streets of Harrow's Hollow. Epilogue: The carnival lives on. Years later, travelers passing through the Appalachian Mountains would speak of strange sights. Faint carnival music drifting through the fog, glimpses of twisted tents in the distance, and the laughter of clowns echoing through the trees. And every Halloween, on the night of the blood moon, the Carnival of Shadows would rise again, always hungry for new souls to join its twisted ranks. Those who dared to enter would never leave, their laughter forever echoing in the darkness, trapped in a nightmare that would never end.